The sun rose lazily over the hills of ancient Rome, spilling its golden light across the city in thin, warm streams. It was the kind of morning that stretched endlessly, as if time itself had forgotten to hurry. From afar, the Colosseum stood, a circular monument of stone and memory, its arches catching the light at angles that made them shimmer softly, like gentle waves frozen in motion. The streets leading to the arena were quiet, almost asleep. A faint breeze moved over the cobblestones, lifting tiny grains of dust into the air, which sparkled for a moment in the early sunlight before drifting back down. It was the sort of day where one could hear the city breathing slowly, as if the people, too, were still wrapped in blankets of drowsy dreams. Inside the Colosseum, the morning had its own rhythm. The marble seats, polished by centuries of feet and echoes, gleamed faintly. Each row seemed to hum with memory, carrying whispers of crowds that had cheered and gasped, all layered upon one another until they formed a soft, continuous murmur, almost like a lullaby of ages past. The air smelled faintly of dust and stone, mixed with the lingering scent of olive oil and roasted grains from the vendors who had once lined the outer corridors. The arena itself was quiet now. The sand, pale and uneven, stretched out in a gentle, undulating sea. Small pebbles shifted slightly under the breeze, making a barely audible murmur that could easily be mistaken for the distant, remembered roar of spectators. Shadows from the arches played slowly across the floor, elongating and shrinking as the sun rose higher, moving imperceptibly, as if even light itself were lulled into sluggish contemplation. Far above, the arches framed the soft blue sky, streaked with lazy clouds that drifted like sleeping ships. The breeze stirred the loose leaves of a few hardy trees growing near the perimeter, and somewhere, a bird flapped its wings in a pattern so slow it seemed more like meditation than flight. Even the echoes of distant footsteps, guards or laborers, no one could be certain, seemed to move in slow motion, leaving the air heavy with quiet anticipation, as if the arena itself were holding its breath. For a moment, one could imagine the Colosseum alive with people again, senators in flowing togas, merchants carrying trays of food, children perched on laps, all murmuring in anticipation of games that might never come again. But the vision flickered, soft as a candle, fading until there was only stillness, a careful, measured calm. The stones themselves seemed to sigh with memory, settling further into the day's warmth, their surfaces absorbing the golden light and exhaling centuries of silence. Time stretched, imperceptible, measured not by clocks but by the slow, deliberate unfolding of morning. Every sound, every flicker of movement, every whisper of wine through the arches, was magnified in its slowness, drawing attention to details often overlooked. A small pebble rolled slightly in a forgotten corner. Dust motes danced in the sunbeams, twirling lazily. The arena was empty, yet it held a presence, a quiet, lingering echo of past glory that refused to vanish completely. And so the morning passed. Not quickly, not slowly, but in a way that seemed suspended, as though the Colosseum itself had decided that time here would not follow the usual rules. Each stone, each arch, each shadow seemed to pulse with memory, breathing softly into the vast, silent space, until the story of the morning was written not in words, but in the delicate, hypnotic rhythm of emptiness. The sun climbed higher, brushing the Colosseum with a gentler, more deliberate warmth. Yet within the inner corridors, shadows lingered, long and soft, curling around the stone like quiet smoke. Even in the brightness, the vast interior retained a muted coolness, as if the air itself had grown accustomed to centuries of slow mornings. Torches once burned here in great lines, flickering with a rhythm that matched the heartbeat of thousands. Today, they were extinguished, but their memory lingered like a whisper carried in the wind. One could almost imagine the orange glow spreading across walls, making the rough stones look alive, softening their hardness, coaxing them to share the stories trapped inside. The imagined flames swayed lazily, casting long shadows that moved as if in a trance, and for a moment, the arena seemed poised between presence and absence, reality and memory. From the arches, one could hear the faintest hint of what might have been, the distant echo of cheers, muted yet persistent, curling through the corridors like smoke rising from a fire long extinguished. It was not loud. It was not urgent. It was patient, gentle, lingering, as if the stones themselves had remembered the sound and were now singing it softly to themselves. The marble seats, cold beneath imagined hands, seemed to hum with anticipation. Every crack and chip carried its own resonance, each one telling a story of an unseen hand, a forgotten voice. Perhaps a child had traced a letter here, a merchant had set a tray there, a soldier had leaned for a moment to rest, all long ago, all gone. Yet the stones held on to these moments with stubborn tenderness, reluctant to let the echoes slip completely into silence. Outside, the city remained still, a muted companion to the arena. The breeze carried faint smells, olive oil, baked bread, the distant tang of the Tiber. The sounds were equally soft, a dog barking far away, a cart creaking on stone, footsteps on cobbles that were already distant before they ended. Even this quiet noise felt deliberate, slow, as though the world had chosen a languid pace to match the Colosseum's own steady breath. And within, the imagined torches continued to flicker. Shadows climbed higher up the walls, then fell again. Light seemed to move in invisible circles, tracing the shapes of arches, tracing the empty outlines of seats, lingering on worn steps as if reluctant to leave. Time itself slowed, stretching moments into long, soft drifts. Each imagined cheer, each faint roar, each whisper of movement seemed suspended, lingering in the cool air, like a sigh that refuses to dissipate. By mid-morning, the arena was empty yet full. Empty of bodies, full of memory. Every stone, every arch, every shadow held a fragment of life, a clash of sandals on sand, a swing of a sword in a practiced arc, the faint echo of a laugh or a gasp. None of it moved quickly. None of it demanded attention. All of it existed quietly, like a soft hum beneath the awareness of the world, waiting to lull anyone who listened into a slow, reflective calm. The day passed, as days do, almost unnoticed. The imagined torches burned in soft loops in the mind's eye, the roars echoed faintly, the marble seats breathed history. The Colosseum itself seemed to settle deeper into stillness, a gentle, hypnotic rhythm of memory and stone. Here, time was measured not by hours, but by the slow unfolding of quiet, by the careful dance of shadows, and by the soft, unhurried heartbeat of emptiness. The marble seats of the Colosseum sat in silence, cold and unyielding to anyone who might brush against them. Yet they were far from lifeless. Each seat, each curve of stone, carried centuries of impressions, the faint, almost imperceptible marks left by hands, knees, and shifting bodies. They remembered the weight of countless spectators, the slow scrape of sandals against smooth stone, the quiet thud of children hopping from one tier to the next. Light spilled softly through the arches, touching the marble in uneven patches. Dust motes swirled lazily in the beams, moving like tiny dancers caught in an invisible wind. A single sunbeam stretched from the upper tiers down to the arena floor, illuminating a small fissure in the stone. Within that tiny crack, one could almost see the memory of someone long gone, a merchant placing a tray of food, a young girl leaning to whisper to her companion, a soldier adjusting his helmet before the games began. None of these moments demanded attention, they existed quietly, like thoughts that float just beyond waking consciousness. The air was still, heavy with faint warmth from the morning sun, yet touched by the chill of shadowed corridors. In the emptiness, every sound seemed amplified and then swallowed, the soft sigh of a breeze through a broken arch, the slow scraping of a loose stone settling, the distant echo of footsteps long past. Each echo resonated with the weight of time, wrapping the listener in a calm, meditative embrace. And the seats continued to remember. Not loudly. Not urgently. They did not cry out for attention. They simply existed, carrying memory like a soft, invisible blanket, folding past and present together in the quiet. If one were patient, one could hear it, the gentle sigh of history pressing down on stone, the slow, almost rhythmic heartbeat of the arena itself. A shadow moved across the upper tiers, cast by a passing cloud outside, stretching and fading slowly over the marble. One might imagine that the stone shifted slightly beneath it, acknowledging the passing time, settling deeper into its stillness. The seats held the warmth of sunlight and the chill of shadow alike, balancing memory and emptiness with gentle, unhurried precision. Time continued to drift. The sun climbed higher, yet the arena remained calm. The noise of the city beyond the walls seemed distant, like a half-forgotten dream. The marble seats, cold yet attentive, absorbed all of it, the light, the dust, the imagined voices, the quiet, the soft, endless passing of time. And in that slow, deliberate silence, the Colosseum felt alive in a way that no visitor could ever disturb. Alive not with sound, not with motion, but with the measured, unhurried pulse of memory itself. Here, in this stillness, one could almost understand the rhythm of centuries, slow, patient, and deeply hypnotic. The arena lay empty, a pale expanse of sand and stone, stretching in gentle undulations beneath the arches. No voices echoed here now. No cheers erupted. The sand itself seemed to breathe slowly, shifting imperceptibly under the faint stirrings of a warm morning breeze. Each grain held a story, a memory of footsteps long past, of shields scuffed and swords dragged, now quiet, now forgotten. Above, the arches framed the sky, soft and pale, painted with the slow, languid motion of clouds drifting like sleeping ships. Sunlight poured in unevenly, gliding across the sand and climbing up the walls in thin, golden streams. The arena absorbed it all without urgency, each stone and curve soaking in light as if in meditation. Time here had no hurry. Even the wind seemed deliberate, brushing through empty corridors, tugging lightly at loose fragments of cloth, caressing the edges of broken banners, then leaving everything in stillness once more. The echoes of imagined crowds lingered faintly, gentle and unobtrusive, curling along the edges of the stone. One could hear them if one listened slowly enough, a faint cheer rising and fading like a sigh, a distant drumbeat that trembled and then dissolved, the soft shuffle of feet that had long since vanished. These sounds did not disturb. They did not demand. They existed quietly, like a memory half forgotten in the back of the mind, coaxing the listener to slow their breathing, to sink into the calm embrace of the arena itself. The walls, scarred and weathered, held the weight of centuries. Each crack, each chip, each faded mark whispered a story of patience, endurance, and the passage of time. Shadows stretched across the floor, pooling in corners, crawling along the steps in a hypnotic, languid rhythm. Dust floated in the sunbeams, tiny particles twirling as if performing an endless, silent dance. It was a dance of memory, of silence, of time that refused to hurry. And yet, despite the emptiness, the arena was not lifeless. It breathed in its own way, a slow, measured inhalation and exhalation, felt rather than heard. The stones themselves seemed to pulse with the memory of human presence, the subtle pressure of countless bodies, the soft brush of sandals across marble, the collective anticipation of thousands who had once filled this space. Each memory lingered like a gentle hum beneath the quiet, pressing lightly on the present, inviting the mind to drift along its slow current. As the day continued its deliberate climb, the arena remained in stillness. The Colosseum itself seemed to exhale, settling further into quiet meditation. No sound penetrated this calm. No movement interrupted the slow rhythm of light and shadow, of dust and stone. Here, in this vast and empty space, time had softened. Here, the arena whispered gently, patiently, carrying its stories in a voice so subtle that one could almost fall asleep simply by listening to its silence. And so the arena waited. Patiently. Calmly. Eternally. A timeless space suspended between memory and emptiness, breathing softly, inviting the world, and anyone who entered, to slow, to rest, and to drift into the quiet embrace of history itself. The Colosseum's stones were not merely walls, they were keepers of memory. Each one held centuries of footsteps, glances, and murmurs, pressed into their surfaces with a patience that only stone could possess. Standing close, one could feel their stories pressing outward, subtle and insistent, as though the stones themselves wished to be acknowledged. The air moved gently against the walls, stirring dust that had lain undisturbed for generations. Tiny cracks and indentations caught the light in delicate patterns, shifting slowly as the sun rose higher. Some stones bore marks of carved names, others faint scratches from tools long forgotten. Every imperfection seemed deliberate, a subtle echo of a life once lived, fading into the immensity of the arena's quiet. Time seemed irrelevant here. The stones had no need for hours or minutes. They only needed the slow passage of light, the occasional brush of wind, and the faintest hint of human presence. Each stone whispered in its own rhythm, a soft creak when shadows moved across it, a faint sigh when sunlight warmed its surface, a slow, hypnotic hum that echoed faintly down empty corridors. Listening closely, one could imagine hearing centuries fold over themselves in gentle waves, each layer of memory breathing softly against the next. The corridors of the Colosseum stretched endlessly, empty yet alive with echoes that refused to vanish completely. Every worn step had left a trace, faint but persistent, as if the stones themselves were holding on to the rhythm of long-past movements. One could follow them slowly with the eye, a careful, meditative trail of presence that had grown faint but never fully disappeared. The floor shifted subtly under soft breezes that swept through arches, stirring the faint scent of earth and stone. Shadows lengthened and shrank in silent rhythm, as if the sun itself moved in slow, deliberate contemplation. Each corridor seemed infinite, its arches repeating in gentle patterns, inviting the mind to wander without end, floating on the slow pulse of memory carried by stone. Time moved differently here. It was thick, almost tangible, winding along walls and arches, wrapping around corners, folding gently into every crevice. The footsteps of centuries, gladiators, spectators, soldiers, and servants, echoed faintly, slow and languid, their rhythm measured not in haste but in patience. Standing in the corridor, one could almost match their own breathing to this quiet, eternal cadence, sinking further into the hypnotic embrace of the arena. Tall columns rose like silent sentinels, reaching toward the pale sky, their surfaces mottled and softened by centuries of wind and sun. Each one bore the weight of time, yet remained steadfast, observing the arena in patient, unhurried vigilance. The spaces between them framed quiet passages, where light and shadow wove slow, mesmerizing patterns across the floor. The wind whispered faintly between the columns, carrying a sound so soft it was almost imagined. Dust twirled lazily in the air, caught in the sunlight that fell in gentle streams. A small bird flitted briefly from column to column, moving so slowly that it seemed part of the stone's meditative rhythm. Even the faint distant noise of the city beyond the walls felt subdued, muted by centuries of patient, immovable presence. Here, in the watch of these towering stones, time seemed to fold gently over itself. Past and present coexisted softly, and the arena held its quiet breath. Each column, scarred and weathered, seemed to murmur a lullaby of memory, inviting anyone nearby to slow their own thoughts, to drift in the calm, hypnotic space of eternity. The arena's outskirts held traces of preparation, long abandoned but still faintly alive in memory. Wooden dummies stood in quiet rows, worn smooth by countless strikes. The sand beneath them was uneven, catching the light in soft ridges and valleys. Each grain seemed to carry the weight of practice, the echo of footsteps moving slowly, methodically, through drills that had long since ended. The morning sun slanted across the training grounds, highlighting every subtle imperfection, a nicked piece of wood, a faded mark on a stone wall, the faint indentation of a footstep pressed centuries ago. Even without movement, the air seemed to hum with the memory of repeated actions, each one stretching infinitely in slow, deliberate rhythm. A faint breeze stirred the sand, shifting it imperceptibly, as if reminding the arena that nothing here ever truly disappeared. Time flowed differently in the training grounds. There were no hurried movements, no sudden bursts of energy. Everything unfolded in patient, hypnotic waves. The echoes of soldiers and gladiators practicing rose softly in the imagination, the scrape of a foot, the slow swing of a weapon, the measured breath of a body in repetition. And then, just as softly, they faded again, leaving behind only the sand, the light, and the quiet, eternal patience of the stones. Rusting helmets and shields lay scattered, half buried in dust, forgotten relics of long-past contests. Their surfaces were pitted, worn, and warm under the sun, catching light in dull glimmers. The stones beneath them seemed to cradle these artifacts, holding them carefully in their patient embrace, as if the arena itself refused to let go of its history. Dust swirled lazily through the air, caught in thin beams of sunlight that angled through the arches. A faint breeze stirred the edges of banners and fragments of cloth nearby, creating slow, almost imperceptible movement. The air was filled with quiet reflections of past struggle, each one stretched out in time, lingering in the mind as soft, hypnotic echoes. The armor spoke of ordinary lives, not heroic feats. It whispered of men who trained and rested, who waited in the sun and in the shade, who lived in the slow rhythm of repetition. The sound of clinking metal, once loud and urgent, now existed only as memory. The stones held it, the dust carried it, and the Colosseum breathed it back, gentle and unhurried, inviting the observer to sink into the calm cadence of centuries. The arena floor stretched pale and still, the faint marks of countless practices etched into its surface. Tiny footprints and scuffs told the story of hours spent walking, running, swinging, and pausing in rhythm with the slow passage of the sun. Sand shifted lazily under imagined footsteps, small pebbles rolling with delicate, hypnotic motion. Sunlight filtered in uneven patches, warming certain areas while leaving others in cool shadow. Each patch seemed alive with memory, capturing the soft weight of movement that had long since ceased. The arena felt vast, infinite, yet intimate, every stone, every grain of sand attentive to the presence it once held, whispering it back to the quiet air. The imagined sound of training was almost imperceptible, a soft shuffle of sandals, the faint clink of practice swords, the measured inhale and exhale of a body moving through repetition. It was all slow, unhurried, delicate in rhythm, like a lullaby of effort. Standing there, one could almost feel the heat of the sun, the gentle pressure of the sand beneath, and the patient, meditative pulse of the Colosseum itself, inviting calm and stillness. Along the walls, long-forgotten spears leaned gently against cracked stone. They stood in silent rows, their tips dulled by centuries of stillness. Each one seemed to exhale slowly, carrying the memory of hands that had held them, strikes that had been made, and the slow waiting that had filled countless hours. The breeze drifted lazily through the arches, tugging lightly at fragments of banners and loose pieces of cloth. Shadows shifted imperceptibly across the walls and sand, playing in patterns so subtle they demanded patient attention. Dust floated through the sunlight, spinning in soft, hypnotic spirals, and the arena seemed to breathe alongside them, inhaling and exhaling memories that were centuries old. Even in stillness, the arena pulsed gently with life, not hurried, not urgent, but slow, deliberate, and hypnotic. Each stone, each weapon, each dust mote's motion invited reflection, patience, and calm. The Colosseum held the memory of effort, of waiting, of life passed quietly, like a lullaby for those who listened. And in that gentle stillness, the whispers of forgotten fighters seemed to merge with the soft rhythm of the stones themselves. The wind moved through the Colosseum's corridors like a soft sigh, curling gently around arches and stone walls. Dust, long settled, lifted in thin, lazy spirals, catching sunlight in tiny, glimmering points. Each gust was deliberate, measured, as though the air itself had learned patience from the stones. The corridors were empty, yet the wind made them feel alive. It whispered faintly across uneven floors, stirring echoes of long-forgotten voices, moving like a gentle song that only the stones could hear. Shadows shifted in slow, deliberate motion, stretching and shrinking in quiet rhythm with the breeze. Time here was not counted in hours, but in the unhurried dance of dust and light. Along some upper corridors, fragments of tattered cloth clung to the arches, swaying with the wind. Their motion was slow, almost languid, like the deliberate breathing of the arena itself. Each flutter caught the light, revealing faded colors that once had shone vibrantly in festival days long gone. The air smelled faintly of sun-warmed stone and dust. Tiny particles spun in slow spirals as the wind passed, brushing against the walls with the softest caress. In this quiet, the arena seemed suspended, a place where the movement of air was enough to bring the vast, empty spaces to gentle life. The wind found its way through tiny cracks in walls and floors, producing faint, musical notes, soft whistles that carried down corridors in lazy arcs. The sound was quiet, unhurried, and oddly comforting, like a lullaby composed by centuries of stone. Shadows moved in concert with the whistling, stretching over worn steps, pooling in corners, disappearing again. Even the faintest echoes from distant arches seemed to dance in time with the air, creating a rhythm that was slow, hypnotic, and entirely without urgency. Here, the Colosseum seemed to breathe as one with the wind, each inhale and exhale measured and calm. A wide archway opened into a passage that seemed endless, the floors smoothed by centuries of footsteps that no longer echoed. The wind drifted gently, stirring dust and leaves, and the play of light and shadow created delicate patterns that shifted so slowly they could almost be ignored. In this stillness, the mind felt invited to wander. Each arch framed another, and another beyond it, repeating like an infinite, quiet pattern. The softest movement of air was enough to give the corridor life, yet nothing moved in haste. The silence was deliberate, thick, comforting, a lull that seemed designed to coax attention into the smallest details. Even the arena itself felt the passage of the wind. Tiny grains of sand shifted in soft, deliberate motion, stirred only slightly by the gentle currents that passed through arches and corridors. Shadows of columns stretched lazily across the floor, flickering subtly as the sun moved in its slow arc. The breeze carried faint echoes of past life, the sound of sandals on stone, the soft shuffle of spectators, the whisper of breath from long-forgotten fighters. None of it was urgent. None of it demanded notice. It existed quietly, mingling with the rhythm of the wind, the dust, and the stones themselves. In this, the Colosseum seemed to pulse in slow harmony with time, each breath of air a quiet lullaby to all who might pause long enough to feel it. The morning sun filtered through the arches, illuminating particles of dust suspended lazily in the air. Each mote moved independently, yet together they traced invisible paths, curling, twirling, and drifting with a patience that only centuries could teach. The Colosseum stones absorbed their gentle dance, and in return, the dust seemed to settle slower than usual, as though reluctant to rest. The arena floor, pale and uneven, caught the light in soft patches, revealing the subtle indentations of footsteps long forgotten. Tiny pebbles shifted imperceptibly as the wind passed through arches, adding faint murmurs to the quiet symphony of stillness. The scent of warm stone mixed with dry sand, a fragrance so subtle it was almost imagined, grounding the mind in the hypnotic calm of ancient memory. Time itself seemed to soften. Moments stretched like liquid, each inhalation and exhalation of the wind, each flicker of light on the walls, unfolding in slow, deliberate rhythm. In this gentle stillness, one could almost hear the stones breathing alongside the dust, their memory of countless centuries mingling with the faint motion of sunlight and shadow. Shadows moved slowly across the arena, shifting with the sun as if reluctant to leave the cool comfort of shade. Each column cast long, languid lines that stretched across the pale sand, curling slightly at their ends in delicate patterns. The effect was hypnotic, a quiet rhythm that seemed to breathe in time with the wind and the dust. Every detail was magnified in the stillness, cracks in stone, faint scratches, tiny chips worn smooth by centuries of touch. Even the smallest imperfections became part of a slow, meditative landscape, inviting the mind to wander without urgency, to sink into the infinite calm of the Colosseum's vast emptiness. The air smelled faintly of sun-warmed stone and distant earth, carrying a soft hint of grass from trees beyond the walls. Sounds were muted, a bird flapped far above, the breeze rustled leaves gently, a pebble rolled quietly across the sand. All movements were unhurried, deliberate, drawing attention to the soft, hypnotic pulse of space and time. In the corners of the Colosseum, shadows pooled more deeply, and delicate cobwebs stretched between columns and cracks. Tiny motes of dust rested on the fine threads, moving slightly with each whisper of wind. The cobwebs shone faintly when caught in the sunbeams, like thin, fragile filaments of memory holding on to centuries of quiet. The corners were still, almost sacred in their calm. Every stone, every crack, every thread seemed to murmur a gentle lullaby, a soft invitation to slow, to rest, to notice the slow and patient rhythm of emptiness. Light filtered through the arches at an angle that elongated shadows, creating subtle patterns that seemed to dance almost imperceptibly in the slow, quiet air. Even a faint footstep, if imagined, would disturb nothing. The arena remained patient, absorbing each imagined sound, each drifting mote of dust, each flicker of light, into its calm and endless memory. A faint wind stirred the arena again, lifting grains of sand in gentle spirals. The stone steps, worn smooth by centuries of feet, seemed to breathe softly beneath this movement. No sound demanded attention, no motion hurried the eye. Every element of the arena existed in slow, deliberate rhythm, inviting patience, reflection, and deep calm. Shadows stretched across steps and sand alike, folding into each other in lazy, hypnotic patterns. The faintest echoes of imagined footsteps, soldiers, spectators, or children, lingered just at the edge of perception, soft and unobtrusive. Time itself felt suspended, measured only by the slow dance of light, dust, and shadow across the stones. The Colosseum's vastness, empty yet present, held the mind in gentle suspension. Inhaling the still air, listening to the faint rustle of dust, one could almost synchronize with the pulse of the arena, slow and unhurried, and feel a deep, sleepy calm settle over the body and the mind. The Colosseum stands rose like silent hills of stone, curved tiers extending endlessly, each one steeped in shadows and soft, golden sunlight. The seats, worn smooth by centuries of feet, were cold now, yet somehow still seemed to hum faintly with memory. They remembered every moment of anticipation, every cheer, every gasp that had once risen from their heights. The arena below stretched pale and empty, a sea of sand whose surface was uneven with tiny ridges and depressions, traces of games and festivals long forgotten. Tiny pebbles shifted ever so slightly as a lazy breeze swept through the arches, brushing against the marble, stirring faint echoes that whispered of applause, music, and laughter that had filled the space centuries ago. Each sound was faint, almost imperceptible, yet present, like a memory brushing against the edges of thought. Sunlight streamed through the upper arches, casting long, slow-moving shadows across the tiers. Dust floated in golden beams, twisting and curling lazily, each particle moving with its own rhythm. The air smelled faintly of dry stone and warm sand, mixed with the subtle tang of moss from cracks in the marble. Even without movement, the Colosseum seemed alive, breathing slowly in time with the light, the dust, and the wind. One could imagine the stands filled once again, senators draped in togas, children perched on laps, merchants offering trays of sweet pastries, and spectators leaning forward with anticipation. Yet even this memory was softened, slowed, and hypnotic, filtered through centuries of stillness. The cheers and chants existed only as gentle murmurs in the imagination, rising and fading in lazy waves, never demanding attention. From the topmost arches, the breeze carried faint scents of earth and distant gardens. A single bird glided across the sky, moving so slowly it seemed to float in time with the air itself. Shadows of columns stretched across the empty arena, shifting imperceptibly as the sun arced across the pale blue sky. The Colosseum, vast and empty, held all of it patiently, the imagined crowd, the drifting dust, the quiet shifting of shadows. Here, time did not hurry. Every movement of light, every particle of dust, every echo of the past unfolded with deliberate care. The Colosseum seemed to whisper that it had no need for urgency, the centuries themselves had taught it patience. Even in emptiness, it retained the faint rhythm of celebration, now slowed to a hypnotic pulse, a lullaby of stone and memory that could quiet any restless mind. A faint hum lingered in the corridors, almost imperceptible, like the memory of music long silenced. In the imagined past, flutes and drums had filled the air with rhythm, mingling with the shouts of spectators and the shuffle of sandals on stone. Now, centuries later, all that remained were subtle vibrations in the walls, small whispers that seemed to rise when the sun hit a certain angle, or when the wind passed through a broken arch. The arena floor absorbed light unevenly, its ridges and depressions catching it in pale pools. Tiny pebbles shifted slightly, moved by gentle gusts that created faint, whispered sounds against the sand. The air carried subtle scents of sun-warmed stone, faint herbs from distant gardens, and the dry tang of ancient sand, all layered to create a calm, meditative environment that invited slow, reflective attention. Shadows from the arches played over the walls in a hypnotic rhythm, stretching, merging, and fading almost imperceptibly. Every corner seemed to hold a fragment of past performance, a faint imprint of sandals on stone, the shallow indentation of a dropped drumstick, the trace of a flowing toga brushing against a marble step. These small details, when noticed, wove together to form a tapestry of gentle remembrance, each element moving in perfect harmony with the slow passage of light and wind. The imagined music of festivals rose and fell in delicate waves, never urgent, never loud. One could almost hear the soft scrape of a harp, the subtle tap of a drum, the faint trill of a flute. The stones carried these sounds with patience, allowing them to linger, fade, and reappear as slowly as the mind could perceive. The Colosseum had learned the rhythm of centuries, the slow unfolding of sound and silence, of movement and stillness, each balanced with hypnotic care. Even the air seemed deliberate, brushing lightly across worn stone, teasing dust motes into lazy spirals. The Colosseum's vast emptiness amplified every small movement, every soft whisper, creating a gentle, drowsy harmony that embraced both body and mind. In this quiet, it was easy to imagine the space alive once more, yet perfectly serene, a meditation of sound, shadow, and memory. The aroma of imagined feasts lingered faintly in the corridors of the Colosseum, a memory suspended in the still, warm air. Though no tables remained, no dishes clinked, and no voices rose in celebration, the faint essence of bread, roasted meats, and honeyed pastry seemed to hang in invisible threads, as delicate and persistent as dust drifting through sunbeams. The upper terraces caught the morning light in soft, uneven patches, illuminating cracks in the marble and worn edges of seats. Every detail told a story of moments long past, a tray carefully placed, a hand brushing over stone in anticipation, a child leaning forward to catch a glimpse of the arena below. Even the faintest movement in the imagination became a ritual, unfolding slowly and deliberately, with no urgency, no suddenness, only the soft rhythm of time carried by centuries of stillness. The arena floor reflected sunlight in muted patterns, tiny grains of sand shifting under invisible drafts. Each subtle movement created a ripple of sound so soft it could barely be heard, the whisper of pebbles, the faint creak of stone settling, the gentle hum of air moving through broken arches. Together, these sounds wove a lullaby, a slow, hypnotic harmony that stretched across the empty expanse, inviting the mind to drift along its endless current. The imagined festival guests remained only as shadows, delicate outlines that hovered over the stone seats and terraces. One could picture them leaning in to murmur to one another, exchanging fleeting glances, shifting in their seats, all movements slowed, softened, hypnotic. Even their laughter existed only as the faintest suggestion, a ripple across memory rather than a tangible sound. The stones themselves seemed to cradle these remnants of life, preserving them in gentle patience, neither fading too quickly nor demanding attention. From the highest arches, the breeze carried faint, distant scents from the city outside, flowers, baked bread, the subtle tang of olive groves. It mingled with the imagined aromas of the festival, weaving them into a slow, meditative rhythm that settled over the arena like a warm, invisible blanket. Each inhalation drew the mind deeper into the quiet, hypnotic pulse of space, where time was measured not by hours but by the slow unfolding of light, shadow, dust, and air. Every corner of the Colosseum seemed aware of its history, yet content to remain in calm stillness. Columns rose like silent sentinels, their shadows stretching across sand and stone, following the sun's measured arches framed beams of sunlight that danced lazily over empty seats, and dust motes swirled in spirals so subtle they could be mistaken for illusions. The arena itself seemed to breathe, each inhalation and exhalation in harmony with centuries of quiet memory. Even the faint echoes of movement, the soft step of a child imagined, the gentle brush of a tray against stone, existed in a slow, hypnotic cadence. Nothing demanded notice, nothing hurried. All things, from the smallest grain of sand to the tallest arch, contributed to the serene rhythm of the arena, creating a space where mind and body could sink into drowsy calm. The Colosseum, in its patient, unhurried magnificence, transformed memory into meditation, sound into silence, movement into gentle waves of stillness. Here, in this vast and empty space, the festivals lived only in gentle suggestion, and yet they lived fully, a slow, deliberate existence, carried not in motion or noise, but in the hypnotic dance of sunlight, dust, air, and shadow. In this quiet, it was impossible not to feel the pull of slumber, the embrace of centuries of calm, the soft lull of history itself. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long, languid shadows across the Colosseum. The arena glowed with a soft, golden hue, and the air seemed warmer, carrying faint whispers of the day's imagined festivities. Though empty, the space pulsed gently with memory, as if the stones themselves exhaled in rhythm with the slow descent of light. Along the upper terraces, shadows stretched over worn marble seats, curling and fading in gentle, hypnotic waves. Dust motes drifted lazily in the beams of sunlight, turning the empty corridors into a soft, twirling haze of gold. The breeze wandered through arches and broken walls, moving slowly, deliberately, brushing against the surface of every stone, every column, every forgotten banner. It carried the imagined sense of twilight, dry sand, sun-warmed stone, faint traces of herbs and baked bread from festivals long past, mingling into a perfume of memory and calm. In the quiet of this fading day, the Colosseum seemed to remember the slow processions that had once wound through its vast corridors. Gladiators, senators, musicians, and children moved in imagined rhythm, all steps measured and gentle, almost dreamlike. Their movements were slowed, softened, hypnotic, a silent dance performed only for memory itself. One could imagine the shuffle of sandals on stone, the faint rustle of togas, the subtle clink of bronze and silver, all blending with the ambient hum of wind and dust. The arena floor, pale and uneven, reflected the slanting sunlight in soft, muted patterns. Small ridges in the sand caught the light, creating tiny pools of warmth that seemed to pulse in slow rhythm with the imagined procession. Every corner, every step, every crease in the stone told a story of patient repetition, a rhythm that had endured for centuries and would endure far longer. Even in stillness, the space vibrated softly with life, quiet, hypnotic, and unhurried. Shadows of columns stretched across the arena floor like lazy rivers, moving imperceptibly as the sun continued its descent. The arches framed the sky, now tinged with soft rose and pale violet hues, as if the heavens themselves were participating in the slow, meditative calm. Dust motes swirled in spirals caught in the fading light, rising and falling in a gentle, endless dance. The faintest imagined sounds, a soft drumbeat, the whisper of footsteps, the hum of a flute, lingered like a faint echo, never demanding attention, always fading before they could intrude. Time felt suspended. The arena and its terraces existed outside of hours and minutes, measured only by the gradual dimming of sunlight, the gentle rise and fall of dust, the slow motion of shadows. The Colosseum had become a space of perfect patience, where the mind could drift freely, guided by the hypnotic cadence of memory, light and air. In this quiet twilight, the festival was present without being loud, visible only through suggestion, felt only through the gentle embrace of atmosphere and imagination. Every stone, every arch, every grain of sand contributed to the calm pulse of the arena, inviting slow breathing, relaxed attention, and the soft surrender to drowsy meditation. The space was alive, yet entirely still, hypnotic, and serene, a lullaby written in stone, light, dust, and memory. And as the sun finally lowered beyond the horizon, casting the arena in soft, diffused shadow, one could feel the Colosseum exhale, settling further into centuries of patient, unhurried calm, carrying its quiet festivals gently into the night. The Colosseum's arena lay vast and empty, yet its stones seemed alive with memory. Each one remembered the steps, the gestures, the quiet determination of champions long gone. Their victories, once celebrated with cheers and applause, now existed only as whispers, slow and delicate, weaving through the arches and corridors. The sand beneath the arena floor was pale and smooth, marked with faint depressions, the subtle echoes of combat rehearsed and performed countless times. Tiny dust motes danced lazily in shafts of sunlight that slanted through the arches, glinting like gold in their slow spirals. Even without movement, the arena pulsed with an invisible rhythm, the heartbeat of champions long past, measured not in moments but in centuries of quiet reflection. The air carried a faint warmth, mingled with the subtle scent of stone, dry sand, and moss from cracks in the walls. The stones themselves seemed to breathe slowly, inhaling the memory of strength, courage, and patient effort, exhaling it softly into the vast emptiness. One could almost hear the imagined shuffle of feet, the brushing of leather against armor, the soft clink of metal, a lullaby of exertion and endurance, soothing in its hypnotic repetition. Above, the arches framed the sky, pale and calm, while shadows stretched and merged on the arena floor. The slow passage of sunlight made every detail stand out, the grooves in stone, the uneven edges of marble, the subtle ridges in sand formed by countless battles. Even in stillness, the champions were present here, not in physical form, but as a pulse in the stones, a whisper in the wind, a gentle reminder of timeless effort and quiet heroism. The emptiness did not diminish their presence, it enhanced it. Without the clamor of spectators or the rush of motion, every imagined movement became deliberate, slow, and hypnotic. Each footstep, each motion, seemed to echo in infinite space, dissolving gradually into the patient embrace of stone and light. The arena became a sanctuary for memory, where the energy of champions was preserved not in noise, but in serene, meditative rhythm. Even the breeze carried them, brushing across the pale sand, tugging lightly at broken banners and loose stones, coaxing faint echoes of past triumphs into the soft, unhurried air. Here, time was fluid, history and present intertwined in a slow dance of shadows and light. The Colosseum, ancient and vast, held these champions carefully, allowing them to exist not in spectacle, but in calm, hypnotic presence, a gentle lull for anyone willing to listen. Along the edges of the arena, ancient armor rested quietly, worn smooth by centuries of touch. Helmets, shields, and breastplates were half buried in pale sand, catching sunlight in soft, muted glimmers. Each piece seemed to hold a story, the effort of a swing, the pressure of a grip, the patience of countless drills performed without urgency. Dust floated lazily in the sunbeams, each particle twisting and spiraling as if performing a slow, endless dance. The faint breeze moved carefully through the arches, brushing the armor's surfaces and tugging gently at fragments of cloth. Even inanimate, the arena seemed to breathe around these relics, inhaling their stories, exhaling calm into the vast emptiness. The stones underfoot carried the weight of memory. Every crack, every chip, every worn edge seemed to whisper a quiet acknowledgement of the effort once exerted here. The armor itself seemed to exhale, the faintest creak echoing softly, like a lullaby composed of steel, stone, and time. Shadows stretched across these artifacts in hypnotic patterns, shifting imperceptibly with the sun's arc, emphasizing the serene, meditative stillness of the arena. The imagined champions lingered in memory, visible not in form but in subtle gestures, the tilt of a helmet, the brush of a shield against a column, the way a breastplate might catch a glint of sunlight before fading into shadow. Each gesture, slowed to a hypnotic rhythm, invited reflection and calm. Even the tiniest dust motes seemed to move in step with these imagined actions, weaving an invisible tapestry of quiet, patient life across the arena floor. The Colosseum absorbed it all. The light, the dust, the wind, the faintest hum of memory, each element intertwined with the others, creating a hypnotic atmosphere that encouraged slow breathing, relaxed thought, and gentle drowsiness. The champions existed here in a new form, preserved not in glory or noise, but in the serene, patient rhythm of stone, sand, and memory. The arena stretched pale and vast, empty of all movement except the slow drifting of sunlight across its sand. Yet, if one listened carefully, the faintest echo of steps could be imagined, rising and falling in hypnotic rhythm. These were not hurried footsteps but deliberate, careful, the steps of champions long gone, walking through memory rather than space. The worn sand bore subtle impressions of these slow marches, ridges and depressions softened by centuries of wind and dust. Tiny pebbles shifted imperceptibly as a gentle breeze swept across the arena, creating faint whispers against the stone. The arches and columns framed the motionless scene in calm symmetry, casting long, lazy shadows that stretched toward one another in quiet conversation. The champions' movements were slow and deliberate, each gesture measured and hypnotic. One could imagine the tilt of a helmet, the brush of a sandal against stone, the slight sway of a cloak caught in a gentle breeze. The arena absorbed it all, magnifying the delicate rhythm, holding it in a suspended moment between memory and imagination. Every stone seemed to pulse in response, vibrating with quiet acknowledgement, as though the Colosseum itself were stepping in time with the imagined procession. Light and shadow shifted slowly across the floor, tracing the faint curves of sand ridges and the worn edges of marble. Dust motes spiraled in lazy arcs, catching the sunlight, turning the empty space into a soft, shimmering haze. Even the faintest imagined sounds, a soft clink of armor, the muted shuffle of footsteps, a whisper of cloth, blended into the gentle rhythm of the arena, creating a hypnotic, almost musical pattern that invited the mind to drift. The air smelled faintly of sun-warmed stone, dry sand, and distant greenery. Each inhalation carried these subtle scents deeper into the senses, grounding thought in the present while simultaneously inviting imagination to wander. The arena, vast yet intimate, became a space for meditation. Here, every imagined step, every soft echo, every drifting dust mote worked together to create a slow, serene pulse, perfectly suited to calm wandering minds. The arches framed the sky, pale and tranquil, while the tallest columns cast long shadows across the arena floor. Tiny cracks in the stone caught faint light, revealing textures softened by centuries, each imperfection holding fragments of history. The imagined footsteps wove between these imperfections, as if acknowledging them, tracing a path through both memory and matter. Even the breeze seemed synchronized with the slow march. It curled around columns, lifted dust, and nudged loose fragments of cloth, creating imperceptible movements that mirrored the imagined rhythm of the champion's silent procession. Time itself felt suspended, measured only by the gentle unfolding of light, shadow, and motion within the arena. In this stillness, the Colosseum became a sanctuary. Every stone, every grain of sand, every drifting speck of dust participated in the quiet choreography of memory. The imagined champions were present not as figures but as pulses in space, as soft echoes in time, as part of the hypnotic cadence that filled the arena. Here, in this vast, empty, sunlit space, one could feel the slow, calming embrace of centuries, the serene rhythm of history, and the drowsy whisper of enduring presence. The sun sank lower, bathing the Colosseum in a soft, amber glow that seemed to stretch across the arena like a gentle tide. Shadows lengthened, merging with the faint ripples in the pale sand, and the air carried a stillness that only centuries of silence could cultivate. The once roaring arena had transformed into a place of meditative calm, where every stone, every arch, every grain of sand seemed to breathe slowly, exhaling the quiet of fading glory. The arena floor, smooth and pale, bore traces of countless battles, now softened by time. Tiny ridges and depressions caught the last light, creating subtle patterns that shimmered like liquid in the gentle glow. A faint breeze wandered lazily through the arches, lifting dust motes into spirals that drifted in hypnotic arcs. Every movement, though minimal, seemed deliberate, measured, and patient, echoing the rhythm of time itself. The imagined presence of champions lingered, visible only through the faintest hints of motion in memory. One could imagine a gladiator adjusting his armor, the slight tilt of a helmet, the careful placement of a shield against the stone wall. Their gestures were slow, softened by the centuries, transformed into gentle whispers that hovered in the air rather than demanding notice. The Colosseum seemed to cradle these memories, preserving them in patient harmony with the light, the dust, and the faint hum of wind through arches. Sunlight filtered through upper corridors, casting long, gentle shadows that stretched lazily across worn marble steps. Columns and arches framed the space like a cathedral of stone, their symmetry creating a hypnotic cadence of light and dark. Tiny cracks in the stone caught the fading light, revealing textures softened by centuries of exposure, each imperfection holding fragments of quiet history. The arena seemed alive not in movement, but in the delicate play of shadows, dust, and air, a subtle, drowsy rhythm that pulled the mind into reflection. Even the imagined sounds of past glory, the clink of armor, the shuffle of sandals, the faint echo of cheering spectators, existed only as whispers, rising and fading in slow waves. They were not demanding, they were patient, unhurried, harmonizing with the soft cadence of dust and light. The Colosseum had become a lullaby in stone, a meditation in stillness, a hypnotic lull for anyone willing to pause and listen. The breeze carried a faint scent of warm stone and dry sand, mingling with the imagined aromas of distant gardens and long-past festivals. It drifted through arches, tugging lightly at fragments of cloth and banners left behind, coaxing subtle movement in an otherwise motionless space. The air seemed to pulse in tandem with the arena itself, slow and deliberate, each inhale and exhale measured and calm, a rhythm designed to soothe the mind and lull the body. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, the arena was cast in muted tones of twilight. The Colosseum seemed to sigh, settling deeper into the weightless embrace of centuries. The shadows stretched into one another, dust motes continued their lazy spirals, and the imagined champions faded gently into the patient memory of stone. Here, in the vast, empty space, the glory of the past had transformed into serene presence, quiet reflection, and hypnotic calm, a space to drift, to rest, and to sleep beneath the lingering memory of greatness. The sun had almost disappeared beyond the horizon, leaving the Colosseum bathed in soft, violet-tinted light. Shadows stretched and merged across the arena floor, curling like lazy smoke over pale sand. The air was cooler now, carrying the faint scent of sun-warmed stone and distant herbs, a gentle perfume that wrapped around the arena in quiet calm. Through the arches, the breeze wandered slowly, brushing against the worn marble steps, tugging lightly at fragments of cloth and banners long forgotten. It whispered as it moved, faint murmurs that could almost be understood if one listened carefully. The whispers were slow, deliberate, hypnotic, the echoes of centuries, memories of voices that had once filled the arena with life, now reduced to soft sighs, merging seamlessly with the stillness. Dust motes rose lazily in the beams of fading sunlight, spinning in delicate spirals as if dancing to the rhythm of the quiet air. Each particle caught the light for a moment, glimmering like tiny stars suspended in time, then slowly faded back into the shadows. The columns and arches of the Colosseum framed these movements, standing like patient sentinels observing the hypnotic ballet of dust, light, and wind. The arena floor, smooth and pale, bore subtle depressions and ridges, traces of thousands of footsteps long gone. Each indentation seemed to carry memory, vibrating faintly in resonance with the whispers of wind and dust. One could imagine gladiators walking slowly across the sand, their movements measured, their presence a gentle pulse in the quiet rhythm of the Colosseum. Even without form, their energy lingered in the stone, sand, and air, creating a sense of calm presence that invited the mind to drift. Above, the sky deepened to soft indigo, and the arches framed faint stars beginning to glimmer. Shadows lengthened further, curling over worn marble and sand alike, their slow, graceful motion hypnotic. The faintest imagined echoes of voices, children leaning forward on laps, spectators murmuring in anticipation, rose and faded in sync with the gentle rhythm of dust motes and drifting air. Everything unfolded at a pace that required no urgency, no expectation, only the quiet patience of time. The Colosseum seemed to breathe with the dusk, inhaling faint memories and exhaling gentle calm into the arena. Every stone, every shadow, every floating dust mote contributed to a rhythm that was slow, steady, and mesmerizing. In this serene evening, the whispers of the past were not haunting but soothing, drawing attention to the small, hypnotic details, the delicate curves of arches, the uneven edges of marble, the spiraling dance of dust in the soft twilight. Here, in the fading light, the Colosseum existed outside of urgency. Memory, air, dust, and shadows moved in unhurried harmony, creating a space that invited reflection, meditation, and gentle slumber. The whispers at dusk, carried by wind and stone, were a lullaby of history itself, a quiet, hypnotic reminder that even in emptiness, the past could be present, patient, and infinitely calm. The Colosseum seemed to breathe with the fading light, every stone, every arch, every fragment of worn marble participating in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. Shadows deepened across the arena floor, stretching and folding over the pale sand like liquid. The air was still, warm from the lingering touch of the sun, yet carrying a soft, whispering breeze that wound through arches and columns with deliberate patience. Tiny dust motes spiraled lazily in the beams of the last sunlight, turning the empty arena into a glimmering haze. Each particle moved independently, yet together they formed a hypnotic dance, rising and falling like faint waves on an invisible sea. The Colosseum, patient and silent, seemed to watch the dance, holding it gently, allowing the mind to sink into the subtle rhythm of movement and stillness. The faintest echoes of past voices rose in imagined harmony with the wind. One could almost hear the slow shuffle of sandals across stone, the careful placement of a shield, the whisper of a cloak brushing marble. These sounds were not urgent, they existed in a delicate, dreamlike cadence, soft enough to blend with the sigh of the breeze and the spiraling dust. The arena was filled with memory, yet it was memory slowed, hypnotic, and comforting, like a lullaby crafted in stone and air. The arches framed the dimming sky, where the first stars began to appear, faint and twinkling. Shadows stretched across terraces and steps, shifting imperceptibly as the light continued to fade. Each crack in the stone caught the remaining glow, highlighting textures softened by centuries. These imperfections became part of the rhythm, tiny pauses in the hypnotic flow, inviting attention to subtle details that might otherwise be overlooked. The arena floor held traces of countless feet, gladiators, children, spectators long gone. Each indentation, though faded and smoothed, seemed to carry a pulse, vibrating faintly in resonance with the dusk. One could imagine slow, measured steps following these paths, a procession that needed no haste, no direction, only the gentle, hypnotic unfolding of time. Dust rose under the imagined motion, spiraling in lazy arcs that mirrored the rhythm of movement in memory. Even the breeze seemed synchronized with this delicate cadence. It curled around columns, lifted dust motes, and whispered through arches as if participating in a silent symphony. The Colosseum absorbed all of it, light, shadow, dust, air, and memory, weaving them into a gentle tapestry of calm. Every element contributed to the hypnotic stillness, inviting quiet reflection and drowsy surrender. In this twilight, the whispers at dusk were neither haunting nor restless. They existed as soft, patient companions, guiding attention to the slow, meditative details of the arena, the curvature of arches, the soft shimmer of dust in sunlight, the delicate interplay of shadow on worn stone. In the vast emptiness of the Colosseum, the echoes of the past became a lullaby, a serene and hypnotic rhythm that carried the mind gently toward rest. The Colosseum was quiet now, bathed in the dim, lilac light of early evening. The arena floor stretched pale and still, its ridges and depressions softened by centuries of wind and time. Dust motes floated lazily in the fading light, each particle moving independently yet in subtle harmony with the slow rhythm of air and shadow. The arena seemed to breathe in unison with the gentle motion, a slow, hypnotic pulse that invited the mind to drift. Through the arches, a soft breeze wandered like a wandering memory, brushing against worn marble steps and columns, nudging dust motes into delicate spirals. It carried faint whispers of imagined footsteps, soft shuffles that rose and fell with no urgency, moving through the arena in invisible procession. These were the echoes of champions, spectators, and children from long ago, all moving in slow, deliberate cadence, leaving only gentle traces in the sand and stone. The pale sand reflected the faint light of the fading sky, highlighting the tiny impressions left by countless feet over centuries. Each subtle depression seemed to thrum with memory, vibrating softly as imagined footsteps traced the same worn paths once more. The shadows of columns stretched across the arena floor, curling over sand and stone in lazy patterns that mirrored the rhythm of these phantom steps. Even without form, the imagined procession had presence, a soft, hypnotic pulse, barely perceptible, yet filling the arena with serene movement. Above, the arches framed a sky deepening to indigo, sprinkled with the first stars of night. Shadows lengthened and merged with the subtle textures of the arena floor, creating soft contrasts that invited patient observation. The worn edges of marble glowed faintly in the twilight, every crack and chip highlighted by the careful interplay of light and shadow. These small imperfections became part of the hypnotic rhythm, pauses in the gentle cadence that slowed the mind and encouraged reflective calm. The faint hum of memory filled the space, whispers of movement, subtle sounds of cloth brushing stone, the soft scrape of sandals across smooth marble. The Colosseum absorbed all of it, magnifying the tiny echoes and weaving them into a tapestry of hypnotic calm. Dust motes, shadows, and imagined footsteps moved together, a slow dance of presence and absence that invited the mind to settle into quiet meditation. Even the air seemed deliberate, moving in tandem with the imagined rhythm. It circled columns, lifted grains of sand, and swirled dust into spirals that mirrored the fading footsteps of memory. Every element, stone, sand, air, shadow, contributed to the hypnotic stillness of the arena. Here, time had no urgency, every motion, every echo, every tiny glimmer of light unfolded slowly, patiently, like a lullaby in stone. In this quiet, the Colosseum held all its histories gently, allowing the imagined footsteps to fade gradually into memory. The space invited calm, reflection, and drowsiness, a hypnotic pause where the pulse of centuries could be felt in every stone, every shadow, and every drifting mote of dust. Even in emptiness, the arena whispered softly, a lullaby for any mind willing to listen. The last light of day faded from the Colosseum, leaving the arena bathed in the soft indigo of twilight. Shadows stretched long and curling, merging with the pale ridges and depressions in the sand, creating delicate patterns that shifted imperceptibly. The air carried a gentle coolness, mingled with the lingering warmth of sun-warmed stone, perfuming the space with a quiet serenity that seemed almost tangible. Dust motes drifted slowly in the faint remaining light, spinning in lazy spirals that caught glimmers of fading sun before disappearing into shadow. They moved independently yet in subtle harmony with the soft, whispering breeze, which wandered gently through the arches and corridors, tugging at fragments of banners and cloth left behind. Each movement, no matter how small, was deliberate, patient, and hypnotic, filling the arena with a serene rhythm. The imagined presence of spectators and champions lingered still, visible only in faint gestures of memory. A shield resting against a column, the tilt of a helmet, the soft shuffle of an invisible sandal across the pale sand, each subtle echo blended seamlessly into the hypnotic cadence of nightfall. The arena seemed to cradle these whispers, magnifying them without urgency, preserving their quiet presence as part of the gentle rhythm of stone, air, and shadow. Columns and arches framed the deepening sky, now scattered with the first stars of night. Shadows stretched across marble steps and the arena floor, curling over each crack and worn edge, softening the sharpness of centuries into gentle contours. Tiny imperfections in the stone, highlighted by the faint starlight, became part of the hypnotic flow, moments of pause that invited careful attention and reflection. The faintest imagined sounds rose and fell in harmony with the drifting air, a soft rustle of cloth, the subtle tap of sandals, whispers of laughter long gone. These echoes existed not as urgency but as gentle, meditative pulses that wove seamlessly with the motion of dust, shadows, and light. The Colosseum, patient and ancient, absorbed them all, creating a vast, empty sanctuary where past and present moved together in calm, unhurried rhythm. The arena seemed to breathe in time with nightfall, inhaling faint memories and exhaling quiet. Every stone, every grain of sand, every drifting dust mote contributed to the serene cadence, a lullaby in stone that extended through the vast emptiness. Here, even the smallest movement carried a sense of timeless patience, a hypnotic invitation to slow breathing, still thought, and gentle drowsiness. As the stars grew brighter, the Colosseum settled further into night. Shadows merged, dust motes spiraled more slowly, and the imagined footsteps and whispers of champions and spectators alike faded into patient memory. The arena, vast and silent, held all these echoes gently, allowing them to dissolve into the quiet, hypnotic embrace of night. Here, in this serene and expansive space, the past existed as a lullaby, guiding the mind into calm reflection and the gentle surrender to sleep. The moon rose slowly over the Colosseum, pale and luminous, casting silver light through the arches. Its glow spread across the arena floor, illuminating the subtle ridges in sand and the worn edges of marble seats. Every shadow stretched long and thin, curling around columns and steps, forming quiet patterns that seemed to shift in time with the faintest breeze. The arena was silent, yet not empty. Faint echoes of footsteps, long gone, seemed to trace slow, deliberate paths across the sand. Each imagined step pressed lightly into the grains, leaving impressions that shimmered softly in the moonlight. Dust motes rose lazily, spiraling in silvered arcs, their hypnotic movements amplifying the calm, timeless rhythm of the space. From the arches, a soft wind wandered through, carrying whispers that might have been laughter, murmured encouragement, or distant applause. They were gentle, unhurried, and soothing, blending seamlessly with the rhythm of light, shadow, and drifting dust. The Colosseum seemed to exhale in response, stone and marble releasing centuries of absorbed memory into the silver night. Above, the sky was a deep indigo, dotted with the faint glimmer of stars. The arches framed the cosmos like ancient windows, reminding the mind that time here moved differently, measured not by minutes but by the patient flow of light and shadow. Every column, every crack in the stone, every subtle texture of marble contributed to the hypnotic cadence, encouraging deep, calm attention to the smallest details. Even the imagined champions seemed to move differently under moonlight. Their steps were slower, deliberate, as if they had sensed the hypnotic stillness. A shield tilted softly, a helmet caught the glow, and faint ripples in sand suggested quiet, measured gestures, all invisible yet deeply felt, part of the serene symphony of light, stone, and memory. Here, in this moonlit arena, time slowed. The Colosseum became a sanctuary of calm, each shadow, each particle of dust, each echoing gesture guiding the mind toward quiet meditation. The hypnotic rhythm of silver light and patient memory invited rest, reflection, and drowsiness, as if the very stones were singing a lullaby that had lasted for centuries. The arena lay bathed in deep moonlight, the silvery glow softening every ridge of sand and worn edge of marble. The columns and arches stretched tall and still, casting long, hypnotic shadows that intertwined across the pale floor. The air was cool, scented faintly with stone and distant herbs, carrying whispers that seemed to originate from centuries past. Imagine footsteps traced slow, deliberate paths along the arena, pressing lightly into the sand before fading into soft silence. Dust motes swirled lazily, catching the moonlight like tiny stars suspended in still air. Every movement was subtle and hypnotic, part of a quiet rhythm that encouraged slow breathing and gentle meditation. From above, the arches framed the night sky, where stars flickered faintly. Their distant light reflected softly on the marble surfaces, highlighting textures smoothed by centuries. Every crack, every worn edge, every subtle imperfection became part of the hypnotic pattern, slowing perception, inviting attention to the calm, patient flow of time. The imagined voices of spectators rose and fell like soft tides, murmuring encouragement and awe, not in urgency but in gentle, lingering echoes. The Colosseum absorbed all of it, magnifying these whispers into a lullaby of stone, air, and memory. Even the faintest imagined gestures, a shield tilting, a cloak brushing stone, a hand lifted, contributed to the hypnotic stillness. The breeze moved in perfect harmony with the imagined echoes, curling around columns, lifting dust, and creating subtle arcs of motion that mirrored the rhythm of long-past footsteps. Time here was measured not by minutes but by gentle cycles of movement, shadow, and light. Every element combined into a serene, hypnotic cadence that invited calm reflection and drowsy surrender. The moonlit arena, empty yet filled with echoes, stood as a quiet sanctuary. Champions, spectators, dust, and stone coexisted in hypnotic harmony. The whispers of night told tales not of glory, but of serene memory, slow, patient, and infinitely calming, as if the arena itself were singing a lullaby to any mind willing to listen. The Colosseum lay in quiet repose, bathed in the faint glow of a waning moon. Silver light spilled through arches and corridors, brushing the worn marble and pale sand in gentle, soothing patterns. Shadows stretched long across the arena floor, curling slowly over ridges and depressions left by countless footsteps, softening the sharp edges of history into calm, flowing lines. The stones themselves seemed to breathe, holding centuries of memory in their patient, silent rhythm. Tiny dust motes floated in lazy spirals, catching the faint light before drifting back into shadow. The air carried a subtle scent of dry sand, stone, and distant herbs, a delicate perfume that wrapped the arena in serene calm. Even the faintest imagined movements of champions, a shield tilting, the rustle of a cloak, the careful step of a sandal, blended seamlessly into the hypnotic flow. Through the arches, a gentle breeze wandered, weaving between columns and across terraces. It whispered faintly, tugging at banners and fragments of cloth left behind, carrying soft echoes of laughter, murmured encouragement, and distant applause. These sounds were not urgent, not demanding attention, but slow, patient, and soothing, the lullabies of memory itself. The arena floor, pale and smooth, held traces of centuries of motion. Every indentation, every subtle ridge, seemed to pulse with faint memory, resonating with the slow, rhythmic cadence of light, shadow, and air. One could imagine the ghosts of past champions stepping lightly across these worn paths, moving without hurry, their presence calm and deliberate. Above, the sky deepened into indigo, dotted with the first twinkling stars. Shadows curled and merged across the arena floor, softening with each passing moment. Dust motes and imagined gestures moved together in a hypnotic dance, creating a rhythm that required no effort, only quiet attention. The Colosseum, vast and patient, seemed to cradle all this: stone, air, memory, and light, weaving them into a serene lullaby that invited gentle reflection and drowsy surrender. Here, time felt suspended. The arena, empty yet alive with subtle motion and memory, exhaled slowly, inviting rest. Every stone, every shadow, every drifting particle contributed to a hypnotic cadence, a quiet pulse that carried the mind toward the gentle embrace of sleep. The night deepened, and the Colosseum sank further into stillness. The pale moonlight softened every surface, highlighting worn marble edges, arches, and ridges in the sand with gentle silver tones. Shadows intertwined, stretching lazily across the arena, curling around columns and steps in hypnotic patterns that seemed to breathe with the space itself. The stones, ancient and patient, held centuries of memory quietly. Tiny dust motes floated in slow, graceful spirals, catching glimpses of moonlight before fading back into shadow. The air carried a faint, comforting scent of earth, stone, and herbs long forgotten, moving softly through arches and corridors like a lullaby whispered across centuries. In this stillness, the imagined champions and spectators moved only in memory. Their footsteps were slow, deliberate, and patient, barely leaving impressions in the pale sand before fading. A shield tilted gently, a helmet caught a soft glimmer, and the faint rustle of cloth floated through the air, blending seamlessly with the hypnotic rhythm of dust and shadow. The arena floor, pale and smooth, seemed to pulse with the quiet presence of these long-gone visitors. Every ridge and depression resonated with subtle memory, vibrating with calm, patient energy. Even the faintest gestures, the tilt of a head, the shuffle of a foot, the pause before movement, contributed to the hypnotic cadence, inviting drowsy reflection and deep, meditative calm. Above, the night sky glimmered softly, stars twinkling faintly through the arches. Shadows deepened and merged with the sand and stone, creating gentle contrasts that invited slow observation. Every detail, a crack in marble, a worn edge, a drifting mote, became part of the rhythm, a soft, patient guide toward sleep. The Colosseum itself seemed to exhale slowly, settling into eternal slumber. Stone, dust, shadows, and memory intertwined in perfect harmony, creating a sanctuary of calm. The whispers of the past, the faint echoes of movement, the gentle flow of air and light, all became a lullaby that stretched across the vast arena, inviting mind and body to surrender to rest. Here, beneath arches that had watched centuries pass, the Colosseum slept. Its stones, patient and unhurried, held every whisper, every echo, every movement in eternal calm. The arena had become a haven for reflection, meditation, and gentle slumber, a final, hypnotic embrace of history, memory, and the enduring serenity of time itself.